afternoon, friends, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon for our weekly interaction. I have one announcement to make, following which I'm open to answering questions on that. In case after that any of you are interested in any other questions, I'm willing to answer those. And the ground rules remain the same, only one question per person, so choose your question correctly. The announcement that I have to make relates to the External Affairs Minister's visit to Vietnam from 24th to 26th. This is the first visit of the External Affairs Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, to Vietnam. India and Vietnam have a tradition of exchanging high-level visits. You are aware that the last high-level visit from Vietnam to India was by the Secretary General of the Vietnamese Communist Party in last November. We currently have fairly robust economic ties. Our trade between our bilateral trade is approximately $8 billion, of which Indian exports to Vietnam are about $5.4 billion, and Vietnamese exports to India are about $2.6 billion. We see prospects in the current situation in terms of enhancing our economic ties, including in areas such as textiles, pharmaceuticals, and agricultural products. Vietnam is also the largest, amongst the largest recipients of Indian scholarships under the ITEC program and other scholarships. Approximately 150 Vietnamese students Vietnamese avail of ITEC scholarships, and another 40 avail scholarships of various other varieties. India and Vietnam enjoy excellent political relations. Vietnam has supported India's permanent membership of the Security Council. We expect that the External Affairs Minister's visit to Vietnam in the next few days will pave the way for high-level exchange of visits between India and Vietnam during the course of the year. In addition to her bilateral engagements, where she will, of course, meet her counterpart from Vietnam, as well as call on the senior leadership of Vietnam, the External Affairs Minister will inaugurate, along with her Vietnamese counterpart, the third roundtable of India-ASEAN think tanks. From the Indian side, the think tank which coordinates this is the RIS. Apart from these activities, which are going to be focused on the 25th of this month, the External Affairs Minister on the 26th has convened a meeting of Indian heads of mission in the region, that is in Southeast Asia and East Asia. We expect 19 Indian heads of mission from that region to be participating in that brainstorming session, which will be chaired by the External Affairs Minister. I think I will stop at that about the External Affairs Minister's visit, and will be willing to answer questions on that first. Yes, Mr. Venkat Narayan.
Akbar, what is the status of the oil blocks the Vietnamese gave us? And in South China Sea, there has been some hassle. Are we still pursuing them? Have we given them up? I remember when their foreign minister came here, they extended the period for exploration and all that. What is the status at the moment? Thanks.
Yes, you are aware that we approach those oil blocks in the framework of techno-commercial requirements of our oil companies. You are also aware that 2 years ago, in 2012, those oil blocks were extended for a 2-year period. And subsequently, more recently, our oil companies have felt that based on techno-commercial reasons, they would like to continue to avail of that opportunity to explore those oil blocks for the further period of 1 year. Yes, for a further period of 1 more year. It was 2 years in 2012, that meant 2014, and towards the middle of the year. And subsequent to that, our oil companies have assessed that there is a commercial reason for extending the validity for exploration for a further period of 1 year. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Sir, today Tamil National
Yeah,
Alliance.
we finish Vietnam and we will answer. Let's go step by step. Anyone else on? Yes, ma'am. Nainima.
Will the Mekong Ganga Cooperation Initiative be taken up?
Well, the Mekong Ganga Cooperation Initiative is a plurilateral initiative. There will be discussions, but this visit is purely bilateral, and therefore, while there will be discussions on the Mekong Ganga initiative, other countries are not expected to participate in this during the course of this visit. Yes, Padma Rao.
Just to go back to the oil and Vietnam, what is the size of the Indian presence there? Is it purely a commercial presence, or is there also a naval component to our presence there for the coming year? And how large is it?
No, at this stage, I don't think there is any presence there. Those blocks are provided for offshore drilling. I think some time ago, when they made an assessment, they found it that techno-commercially it would be difficult to utilize those because of the availability of deep sea rigs available there. However, they had extended for a 2-year period. Since then, the situation in terms of availability of such rigs, etc., has improved. So, the Indian Oil Company, or OVL in this case, has agreed to extend the option to explore it for another year. At this stage, they haven't right away started, I mean, after the extension, they haven't started yet that process. So, this extension is to avail of an opportunity to utilize that block or surrender it within the course of 1 year. Yes, Rajiv.
Akbar, could you throw some light on the defense cooperation with Vietnam, also against the backdrop of the fact that Vietnam is one of the few countries which has evinced interest in purchasing BrahMos. And
Purchasing?
BrahMos. So if you could just shed some light on the defense aspects, and also perhaps if some defense exercises along with Vietnam and other countries.
Rajiv, in the world of diplomacy, some things are better left unsaid, and defense cooperation is one of those. Yes. Okay. Yes, sir. On Vietnam or on something else? Yes. Nilova.
What exactly is this cooperation between think tanks, India and ASEAN, supposed to be?
My understanding is that the RIS is the Indian sort of representatives. There is, as you know, an India-ASEAN center which has been set up under the aegis of the RIS. And RIS coordinates Indian inputs for discussion with other ASEAN think tanks. So these think tanks are, there is a Vietnamese think tank, but there are also other think tanks representatives who meet periodically in roundtable meetings. And this is the third of its sort. And since the External Affairs Minister is going to be there, she and her Vietnamese counterpart will inaugurate that. If you want further details of who are the think tanks, I will certainly share with you after this meeting. Yes, Ranjit?
On Vietnam, this oil and gas exploration block is in block 28 or 26?
I don't have offhand those, but there's no block that has been given up. If that's your question, have we given up any of those blocks? All the blocks that are available to us for the last, I think, 4 years now, the extension is for another year. Okay, if you have no further questions on Vietnam, then yes, sir, you would like to ask on the TNA.
Sir, today Tamil National Alliance from Sri Lanka met our External Affairs Minister. What was the agenda of this meeting? Any outcome from this? We can expect any outcome from that meeting?
Yes, a 6-member delegation of the Tamil National Alliance from Sri Lanka is in Delhi. The delegation is led by Mr. Sampandan, who is a member of parliament there, a veteran Tamil leader. If any of you want the other names of the other delegates, I will give you. That is Mr. Sanathi Raja, MP, Mr. Suresh Premachandran, Member of Parliament, Mr. Selva Raja, Member of Parliament, and Mr. Selvam Adaikalanathan, Member of Parliament, as well as Mr. Sumantiran, Member of Parliament. Now, this is a parliamentary delegation. This is the first delegation of the TNA to visit India after the new government in India has taken office. Obviously, the effort, this is part of our effort to engage with the government of Sri Lanka as well as all political parties in Sri Lanka with the ongoing process of reconciliation. The TNA delegation made a presentation to the External Affairs Minister in a fairly detailed manner about what they perceive as the current situation in Sri Lanka in terms of the political environment and their engagement or otherwise with the Sri Lankan government. On our side, the External Affairs Minister did patiently listen to them, and she stressed the need for a political solution that addresses substantially the aspirations of the Tamil community in Sri Lanka for equality, dignity, justice, and self-respect within the framework of a united Sri Lanka. The delegation is meeting tomorrow with the Prime Minister, and they intend to put forth a detailed projection of their understanding of the situation, as well as suggestions that they may have in this context about Indian engagement on this issue. There was also, in addition to this, a discussion about the Indian developmental projects in the region, including in the northern and the eastern province of Sri Lanka. This included the housing project, as well as hospitals and various other projects, including reference to the Sampur thermal power project also. Only one. Pardon? No, only one question. Anyone else can ask. Yes, sir. Sure. He'll give you the mic.
Sir, have you taken any decision on sending these Sri Lankan refugees to their homeland back?
No, there is no decision, as you are aware. However, this was raised in the context of the discussions by the TNA delegation, saying that the number of Indian refugees who would like to go back and resettle, however, they are having difficulties because of land-related issues in the northern province. Anyone else? Yes. इसके बारे में संतोष? Philippines के बारे में पहले ये खत्म हो जाए. Anyone else on the TNA delegation? No, over, one chance. I told you, choose the question carefully. There are so many of you, choose the question carefully. Well tried. Yes, on TNA? Yes. Geeta?
Dr. Subramaniam Swamy had visited Sri Lanka recently and has returned and calls the Tamil Sinhalese crisis a linguistic problem and not an ethnic problem between the two communities, and that it's only a problem of mistrust. Does the government of India also view it in the same manner, or are there problems that exist in terms of devolution of powers and what the government of Sri Lanka really needs to do for the Tamils?
Geeta, I just explained to you what the External Affairs Minister mentioned as our appreciation of that situation, and let me repeat for you that a political solution to the issue that addresses substantially the aspirations of the Tamil community for equality, justice, dignity, and self-respect within the framework of a united Sri Lanka was our position and remains so. Yes, Srinjoy? On this, on anything? Yeah, sure. I presume nobody else has on this. Yeah.
So a group of BJP and Shiv Sena MPs are going to the United States at the invitation of Monsanto to look at field trials. Now this comes in the wake of the government of India banning anything to do with genetically modified foods. Now I'm just wondering, since they are MPs from the ruling front, were they given political clearances, and after such a ban, how is it that political clearances were given?
Srinjoy, I don't know about this. I can always check. I do not know whether what you are saying is factually what is the position, on what basis they have applied for a political clearance or not. This is the first time I've heard about this thing. We will check it, and if there is anything that we can say, surely. Obviously, if people are going to a foreign country as part of a delegation, they require necessary clearances. But it doesn't follow from that what you are saying was the basis for the request to visit. So I will need to check that information before we respond on that. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So on Sri Lanka, when you say substantial solution, that is the 13th Amendment, right? Or are you alluding to something else?
You are aware that the 13th Amendment was stemming from the India-Sri Lanka Accord. And that is something that the Sri Lankans have themselves adopted as their legislative framework. And that's the framework in which we are working currently. Yes, Nas.
Pakistan has called as very unfortunate the calling of the talks, and 2 days back their ambassador said they want to move forward. What is your take on it?
You know, I've answered the similar question previously, but let me try and clarify to you. In diplomacy, it's not always about saying the right things at the right time. It's also about avoiding to say the wrong things at any time. Yes.
Okay, following up on the Pakistan question, if I may. Talks with the Hurriyat, whether it's Pakistani visiting dignitaries, the mission here, or even members of the Indian government in the past, they've opened channels of communication with the Hurriyat. So why draw this red line now on talks with Pakistan? And also, if this red line has been drawn in the context of other issues that have been more problematic, whether it's terror, ceasefire violations, are you saying that, in a sense, talks will continue while all that goes on, but if you talk to the Hurriyat, sorry, we're not going to talk to you?
Maya, I've explained that at great length of why we adopted the stance that we did. And I explained to you, it's available on record, I don't want to go back on that. Now, as regards why X, not why Z, and why not A or B, my answer to that is that when the government of India takes a decision, it takes all factors into account. However, it also decides takes every situation into account and then decides. In this case, we were, first of all, not having talks. We were going to have talks. And therefore, our understanding was these talks were to be about talks. They were not about a substantive, meaningful engagement that was going to, this was only going to lead to that. And therefore, we felt that it would not serve any purpose in the environment when there were diplomatic discussions on how to go ahead with it. A series of actions were taken which were not conducive to proceeding ahead. And I've explained to you why this was not done previously and why it was done last time. It's available on record. May I suggest that you have a look at that? Yes.
सर जो फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी डबल टॉक्स है वो तो कैंसिल हो चुकी हैं, लेकिन नेक्स्ट मंथ यूएनजीए में जब प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जाएंगे, क्या उनकी मुलाकात नवाज शरीफ से होगी या उस पर अभी आप टच में नहीं है पाकिस्तानी एम्बेसी से?
ये बात को किसी और ने जवाब दे दिया है। हम इस बारे में बातचीत नहीं किए हैं पहले। ये सही बात है कि ये एक मुद्दा था जब विदेश सचिव जा रही थी इस्लामाबाद को, लेकिन अब वो नहीं जा सकी, तो ये मुद्दे के ऊपर बात ही नहीं हुई है अभी। यस सर।
सर, रमन फ्रॉम न्यूज़ 24, क्या सरकार को इस बात की जानकारी है कि कुछ संगठन यूट्यूब पे वीडियो अपलोड कर रहे हैं, कम फॉर जिहाद फॉर मदरलैंड?
ये एक आई थिंक यू शुड आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन टू दोज who are in charge of handling information technology in India rather than the Ministry of External Affairs, because anything related to the web is handled by another ministry, and I suggest you take the question there. Yes, sir. No, you finish your question. No? Okay. All right. Sorry. You're always available.
Tamil Alliance leader Sambandhan, when he met Sushma Swaraj in the morning, and when he came back after meeting, he met the reporters and he said that Tamil monuments were destroyed by the Sri Lankan military. That was his complaint, and we have told everything about that particularly to Sushma Swaraj to find a solution. So what is Indian stand on this particular issue?
Let me first of all acknowledge that Mr. Sambandhan speaks with a lucidity and a felicity that I can't even compare with. So I've explained to you that he explained at great length his views about it. I also told you what the External Affairs Minister's response was, and that is, we are for a political settlement which substantially provides for a life of respect, dignity for the Tamils in Sri Lanka within the framework of a united Sri Lanka. That's our view about it. And Mr. Sambandhan, of course, has his view, which he very eloquently explained to the External Affairs Minister. Yes, Gautam?
Sir, one Indian officials from High Commission of India in Dhaka met very recently the imprisoned Anochetia, and the local press there reported that he has expressed a desire to come back to India. So now whether Government of India will take up or is taking up with Bangladesh authorities?
You know that there is a discussion on this matter for quite some time, and the outcome of that relates to our extradition agreement with them as well as ongoing discussions between our home secretaries. And once these are completed, we certainly will let you know what is the outcome of that. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
On Indo-Japan, on Modi's visit to Japan, will Indo-Japan sign an agreement to buy the US-2 Shinmaya aircraft? And there are reports in Indian newspapers that around 15 aircrafts will be bought and 2 of it will be bought directly and 13 will be manufactured in India. So are these reports authentic? They are correct?
I would never dare to question reports of any of you who are here on this. I would never dare that. But that said, you are also aware that it is only when such discussions are concluded and agreements are signed that we make them public, because these are delicate processes of negotiation. And unless that is complete, I cannot share the information with you. But of course, all of you are privy to much more information than I am, and I'm certain we see all sorts of reports coming. Wait till the conclusion and then decide for yourself, and I don't know whether those who write that will ever say, I got it wrong. That's not in the lexicon at all. Yes, sir.
Could you give us more details of Prime Minister's schedule in Japan?
We will be having a separate briefing on that, but broadly I can tell you the Prime Minister reaches on the 31st evening. He has a series of meetings on the 1st and 2nd, and he is expected to fly out on the 3rd. However, as usual, we will have a detailed briefing on all aspects of the Prime Minister's visit, nearer the visit, and I would think that sometime in the latter half of next week before the Prime Minister ventures on that visit. Anyone else on anything? Yes, sir.
This is Hanik Moore from Pudhiya Talamrai. Pakistan ambassadors said that India also crossed the limit and they also made assassination on Pakistan militant this year 57 times. So what your answer?
What's the question? Yes, yes. I think I have said this many a time, that what happens on the border is for the sentinels of the border to respond to. For that, our defense minister has repeatedly put out the Indian position. So he is best qualified to answer these questions because the border is a matter handled by our brave sentinels, and we are confident that what they do for us is in response to any threat that they may face. Anyone else? If not, thank you very much and have a nice weekend.